It's time to predict wins and losses for SEC teams this year. I need to stress this is not the model. This is not the model. I have shirked responsibility over onto the model. I have deflected blame onto the model. But it's time for me to step up, be an adult, take some responsibility, and say, let's close the computer. I need to keep it open because I got to see my feedback screen. But let's close the computer figuratively, and let's take a personal stand. No more riding the fence. I'm just repeating what all the haters have told me all of August. So this is not the model. This is me. This right here. That's my gut. I'm calling my shots. There are only 3 teams from all of last year that had losing records in the SEC, and yet it was viewed as a down year for the SEC because there were really no elite teams down there either. Down there, I'm in Nashville, down here. And so only one 11-win season in the entire conference last year. Georgia was 10-2, and they won the league. What kind of year are we going to have this year? I have a fundamental belief about the SEC this year, and that is it's Nashville skyline protocol. What I mean, if any of you who have been to Nashville, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're high atop downtown Nashville, Tennessee, roughly, maybe on the outskirts now. There are no 100-foot mega skyscrapers in Nashville, but there are a lot of sort of similar height, tall buildings. And it could be the AT&T building, the Batman building stands out to you, maybe the Pinnacle building stands out, maybe the Bridgestone building stands out, maybe our studio stands out, but there's no one up until they open this Paramount Tower in a couple of years that stands out above and beyond. I think that's the SEC again this year. It's just a conglomeration of tall, good-looking buildings, very picturesque conference skyline. There's no one high-rise. There's no like one World Trade that's above and beyond everything else. And so the difference in 9-3 and 7-5 in this conference this year is negligible. It's one of the rare 4-syllable words that I felt the need to use on the show tonight, but it will be impossible to spot the difference in 9-3 and 7-5 in August. It's impossible. Coaches can't see it, much less we, the people of college football. Is Alex listening? It's a good t-shirt idea. Let me give you an example. Last year, so LSU finished 8-4 last year. If you were sitting in August and you were predicting them to go 8-4, or maybe someone was predicting 6-6, like think about what the difference there is. LSU did not even lead Ole Miss in regulation and beat them. That's a win. They had that phantom no call up at South Carolina where also Sellers went down for a portion of the game. They won that one, had to come from behind. Like they nutted up, they won the game, congrats to them. Could you possibly see the difference, like plus or minus, in those games from August? Of course you can. The point being, they're the same team. Just bounces go their way, bounces don't go their way against USC. So my point in revealing what we're about to reveal is I think we got to recalibrate our mind for what the new 9-3. I think 9-3 is the new 10-2. And I think that there are some 7-5s in this conference this year that could realistically say we had an okay year. And that used to not be the case. All right, here we go. I'm nervous. I don't like it, but we got to do it. Who do we go with first up, Jesse? Remind me of this. A&M. Okay, yeah, that's right. I have my paper turned around. Texas A&M. Over at FanDuel, the over-under win total is 7.5. This is the most underpriced team in this entire conference to me. They will go over 7.5, but this is not over-under win total. This is exactly what the record's going to be. I love the offensive identity of this team. We have them as the number 9 strength of schedule in the SEC in our internal metrics. The Tier 2 matchups, as we define them, will decide Texas A&M's season. They have 3 of them. They play Missouri on the road. They play Auburn at home. They play South Carolina at home. The way that group of games goes, I think will determine this season, and we've got them doing very well in those games. We've got the game at Texas at the end of the year having SEC championship implications on it and playoff implications on it yet again. I've got Texas A&M going 9-3 this year. We view them as a bona fide college football playoff contender. I feel like we should have a drum roll. Next up, random order here. Let's do Georgia next. I'm spinning a wheel. You just have to imagine me spinning the wheel here. Georgia's over-under win total is 9.5. I think home field advantage is as important for Georgia as any team in this conference this year. EA Sports comes out with their home field advantage ratings. We do all our stadium ratings. Well, Here's where it really matters. It really matters when Ole Miss comes into your building. Can they operate on third down? How's Ty Simpson? How does Arch Manning? How do they feel playing in Sanford Stadium on third down? That's where the home crowd at Georgia this year could fundamentally impact the season, because they do play a tough schedule, but they get those dudes at home, and then they go to Tennessee, but they go to Tennessee early in the year. They do go to Auburn. Those teams are in varying states of flux. Here is my mild concern with Georgia. I do believe that there'll be a rebound identity-wise. I do believe they'll be able to run the ball better this year. Is there still going to be a little bit of inconsistency on that offensive line with so much unproven across the front? They trust them. They've developed them. And this program deserves benefit of the doubt, and I don't disagree with that. But I've got that as a mild concern. I think the wide receiver room could be low-key one of the best in the country if it's allowed to be. Gunnar Stockton, of course, at quarterback, everyone's asking questions about him. I think his performance works downstream of the offensive line and the ground game being there and the defensive front being up a notch or down a notch. There are enough collective concerns with that defensive and offensive front that I'm not willing to go double-digit wins on Georgia. I'm going 9-3 on Georgia. I've got them as a playoff team, but I don't have them winning the conference. So I got Georgia at 9-3. Next up, let's be scientific. Give me Auburn, Jesse. All right, next up is Auburn. This is as high level of production as you will ever see. Auburn is one of the big wild card teams in the SEC, if not the country this year. Their over-under win total at FanDuel is 7.5. We've got them with the number 13 strength of schedule in the SEC. Okay? Having said that, they got 4 losable games in the first half of the year. And one of them's on the road in week 1 at Baylor. And look, I don't expect miracles with Jackson Arnold. I don't expect miracles with Jackson Arnold, and that means I don't expect him to have had the problems he had last year at Oklahoma, but just like magically we turn the page, and what a fairy tale Disney-esque story this is. No, they're going to be ups and downs. In the best of cases for Auburn, they're going to be up and downs. They got the 13th strength of schedule in the SEC. I told you they got 4 losable games in the first half. If quarterback play allows the talent profile of that team to play to its potential, then Auburn could surprise a lot of people. Because I am not as high on Auburn as I definitely would be if you gave me that promise. I'm not sold it'll be there. I'm not sold that the quarterback play will allow the potential of the talent profile of this team to be unlocked. What I mean by that is if Jackson Arnold's good, that offensive line's really good. That offensive line's really underrated nationally. That wide receiver room is criminally underrated nationally, but it's because people don't think that they're going to matter. I think they're going to matter, but I'm still not sold to the point where I'm willing to go, ooh, watch out, Auburn, dark horse playoff contender. I've got Auburn slotted at 7-5 right now, but I am freely admitting they are one of the 2 teams in the conference that I'm most exposed on because they're one of the 2 teams with the highest variance and potential outcome, high end to low end. Let's go Florida Gators next. We all know the story here if you've been watching this show. Florida's over-under win total is 7.5 this year. We got them playing the toughest strength of schedule in the SEC and the toughest strength of schedule in America. And I, maybe foolishly, but boldly, am in on them anyway. I've got them as a playoff team. So, obviously, I believe in DJ Lagway. But more so than saying that generically, more so than saying, boy, look at what he does on broken plays. It is deep ball accuracy paired with this receiver room that I really trust, paired with that offensive line. And it also, speaking of that offensive line, gives me great comfort to know that if the passing game's not clicking, if it starts out slow any given Saturday, they've got that offensive line to fall back on. They got a really, really high-level ground game, multifaceted ground game, including the quarterback there, to fall back on. I think we're pairing that with a top 20 style defense and a dynamic, athletic, lengthy defense at Florida, and I think the whole team's dynamic enough to where they can win so many different ways. I've got the Florida Gators breaking through this year, a year after Napier was sold down the river and then they didn't fire him just probably because they couldn't afford to do it. Boom, comeback story of the year. Florida finishes 9-3. They are in the college football playoff. I need to fan myself. This could go bad for me. We're not even halfway done. We got to continue. Okay. Texas is next up because that's the team that's in front of me right now. Texas Longhorns, over-under win total at FanDuel, 9.5. Sark told us in the spring we have built towards this year. Yes, Arch is a first-year starter, but he's our guy. And we've developed him, and we recruited him, and we have viewed the future of this program with his face at quarterback. And we viewed the future of this line of scrimmage as being the biggest in the country, athletically, biggest in the country, and they've achieved that. They've got to go prove it now. But I'll take a lot of their new over most of the other countries unproven. I don't know how to explain it, guys. If you'd go watch them practice, they're one of 3 or 4 teams where you just blindly assume everyone's a stud, and you're not missing the mark by much if you assume that. They have potentially a game-changing pass rush any set of downs. We get to see that early on against Ohio State. There, again, are just so many ways they can beat you, but I'm telling you, there are more than a few teams on this schedule that can beat them, and it makes me less comfortable in backing Texas when I know Ohio State's on the road, Florida's on the road, OU's away from home. They've got to go to Georgia late in the year. There's a lot of newness that you're taking into those tough environments. I do think there are a couple of losses on the schedule, but I do have Texas playing for the SEC championship, and I got them going 10-2 in the regular season. Hey, really quick timeout. We'll get right back to the video. Do me one favor. Make sure you're subscribed. It helps us keep the show free. It helps us keep the lights on. It helps us keep doing college football year-round, and we appreciate it. All right, back to the video. Yeah, let's go ahead and do Bama. Okay. Alabama over-under win total at FanDuel's 9.5. I think this staff challenges Georgia for the best overall coaching staff that we have graded in the SEC. Last year was a whole story unto itself. Last year's not this year. And I think this year will help a lot of people better view last year through the proper prism. They are excellent out wide, both sides of the ball. Wide receiver room, maybe the best in the conference. I think they do have the best group of defensive backs in the conference, and there's a lot of variety in both of those rooms, and there are a lot of young guys who are pushing for playing time, but that they don't actually have to play. It's just luxury if they get those kind of guys on the field. Consistency will be the key offensively for them this year. I don't mean they need to be consistent. I think they will be consistent. They weren't last year. The same team that went and dropped 40-plus at LSU got dunked on the road at Oklahoma and just tossed the ball away left and right. Well, how in the world, for all the criticism thrown that offensive staff's way, how do you game plan for that? You don't even know. It's a schizophrenic profile of a team. You don't even know what you're getting week to week. How do you develop an offensive game plan for that? Ty Simpson may not have the highest of highs that Milroe had. He may not lead SportsCenter as much. But I guarantee you they'll be plenty consistent enough at quarterback. That's a former 5-star talent, by the way, to where the complementary nature of having good backs, having a good offensive line, having great skill out wide, and having a defense that doesn't force you to score 40 a game will lend itself to a more steady, consistent outcome week to week. I got Alabama in the SEC championship game. I got them going 10-2 en route to getting to Atlanta. I don't have anyone in this conference winning more than 10 games, so I got Bama right there at the top of the league. I think we should do South Carolina next because a lot of people are asking for it in the live chat. South Carolina's over-under win total at FanDuel is 7.5. This is very tough for me, very tough because their strength of schedule is number 5. Their best offensive player could also be the best one in the league. Their best defensive player could also be the best one in the league. There's a huge if here. This is my separation from what I've heard from camp, and it's going to be the defining point to me of their season. I still need to see their wide receiver room downstream of Nick Harbor come through for me to believe that this can be a dynamic enough offense to win 9+ games. If I'm wrong, that's how they'll win 9+ games. If they are a contender for the SEC championship, it'll be because that wide receiver room has exceeded above my expectations, and also because they've really successfully backfilled the defensive departures to the NFL. I give them great credit for developing players there. Like, you look at a lot of the guys they've sent to the NFL, these were not all 5-star surefire locks no matter where they go type guys. So they've done a supreme job of developing. So by that logic, you may look at me and say, okay, well, if we develop that wave, might you think we have another wave coming through? That's why I call it a question instead of a weakness. But those questions make me go on the low end because of the strength of schedule. So I'm going to go 8-4 for South Carolina and call it a really good year, but with the understanding that Lenora Sellers could be the best quarterback in the country. And if he is, that's the kind of guy who has the kind of skill set that can will a team through a game. Watch the Clemson game last year, if you don't believe me. And so 9-3, even 10-2 wouldn't shock me with them. But realistically, like if I've got to bet money on this, I'm going more towards 8-4 with South Carolina. Let's go with Oklahoma next. Most fascinating team in the league to me. Oklahoma over-under win total 7.5 at FanDuel. I am very high on this team. Have been since the spring, even the late winter. I didn't even have to wait until the spring. The bad news is they do have the number 2 strength of schedule in the country, according to our internal metrics. The good news is they got John Mateer, and despite the fact that there are some doubters about his throwing motion and quality of competition faced, I think he can compete for the Heisman Trophy. He will cut through this league. Cut through not meaning he'll dominate it, although I think he'll be good. Cut through meaning his talent will level up. It will translate. His game will translate. His offensive coordinator that he brought in tow, his offensive coordinator will translate. Their offense will translate to this conference. I trust their wide receiver additions. I hope that the offensive line will allow this team to reach its potential. I think defense, not big question for me. Defensive profile, top 20 conservatively. It's the offensive line. It was last year too. I start to sometimes get myself in this mode where since I want to buy into a team, I'll believe best case scenario about the question position unit. Well, the offensive line is the question position unit. I can't allow myself to do that though. So I've got to still believe there's some ups and downs. I still will not go crazy about the prediction because of the uncertainty along the offensive line, but I think this is a dangerous team, and I think it's a team where the losses are really close losses. I've got them going 8-4, and I've got this being the only team that at 8-4 has some kind of fringe comment made about them on playoff selection Sunday. They're not going to the playoff. I'm saying I could see that panel sitting at the desk saying, I think Oklahoma at 8-4 is better than some of these 9-3 or 10-2 teams because that's how good I think they will look, albeit in an 8-4 year. Next up, let's go LSU. I got 2 of them that I want to ISO here. LSU's over-under win total is 8.5. LSU has me more nervous than any team in the SEC because I am lower on LSU than most of the media, most of the public. It's the hardest team for me to read. Okay, first the positives. They've done an excellent job making moves on defense. They made moves this time last year and got the right staffers in there. They made moves over the winter and they got the right guys through the portal. So I actually believe in them a lot defensively. I think Garrett Nussmeier is a very good player. I stopped short of calling him a great player. I think he's a very good player. I think that's a realistic expectation level to put on him. Expecting high-level offensive line play when there's still some mixing and matching there and they didn't play to that level last year, and expecting, more importantly, a complementary enough ground game to make this offense balanced enough, just blindly expecting that is a bridge a little too far for me, especially when you got Clemson and Florida and Ole Miss and South Carolina and Vandy and Texas A&M all before Halloween. It is not a backloaded schedule. So you got to come firing out of the gate with a defined offensive identity that I haven't seen you have in a couple of years, and a defense that's playing at a high level, which I actually believe will happen, but still have to have proven. They play 5 Tier 1 opponents. They play 2 Tier 2 opponents by our estimation. This is a tough schedule no matter if you're the best team in the country or not. I've got them going 8-4, and I actually think that's a really good team going 8-4. I just think this is a very challenging schedule that if I have questions at offensive line and I don't know you can run the ball effectively enough, will not allow me to go above an 8-4 prediction. Lastly, before I go the rest of the conference, I'm gonna zone in on Tennessee right here for just a second. Let's see, win total, 8.5. Okay, Tennessee's over/under win total at FanDuel is 8.5. Churn was going to be inevitable this year. They knew it last year. I've told this story a few times. I was up there for a game last year and was asking some personnel types about this year. They already knew they were going to have their challenges, offensive line being chief among them. But they do get the second easiest strength of schedule in the SEC this year. That's what gives them an outside shot to contend. Here's my question about Joey Aguilar. So he comes there. He was at App State. He went and ate breakfast at UCLA, basically. Then he comes to Tennessee. Josh Heupel's quarterbacks don't really turn the ball over a whole lot, but he did last year. So is Heupel's system sort of turnover-proof? Is it the kind of system that you plug a quarterback in and like a Lego piece, it just fits? I wouldn't put it past him. I don't know that that's how the real world works, but if it does work that way, Josh Heupel is the one that'll prove me wrong and find a way to show that. Offensive line just has to overperform this year. That wide receiver room really needs to stay healthy and shake itself out, and we need a really, really good delineation. 1, 2, 3. I need guys to take on roles and have a developed picture, because this is not the kind of quarterback that's going to elevate a room. It's the kind of quarterback that needs to be elevated by his supporting cast. I just expect mixed results from them. And I've got them going 8-4 this year. And I'm telling you, because of all the external drama around this team, this is me talking. This is not the way they should think. I think there's a world where they go 8-4 and they feel really good coming out of it, all things considered, about 2026. Now, again, that is not how I would advise Josh Heupel and company to think. By the way, we got a lot of folks watching live. Make sure you like the video, unless I just picked you to hit under on your win total, in which case I understand if you don't, but it helps us when you like the video. Plus, you're watching anyway, and it's free. Some other teams here. I just want to, because I wanted to show you every team. So I just gave you like 10 teams. I got Missouri going 8-4 this year. I'm a little uneasy about the quarterback thing. I'm a little uneasy that they'll have the consistency in performance. It's so important a word in a season that I expect to play out like this. Anybody who can be consistent, even if you're just consistently above average, you're going to set yourself apart, because I just think it sets up for a very inconsistent, volatile year. And I worry that Missouri can't give me enough of that. I got them going 8-4, which is still a good year. That is not a bad year. But I think there may be some people out there painting them, because of a more workable schedule, as like a fringe SEC title contender. I don't have them as that. I've got Mississippi State going 4-8, which is an over. I think their over-under win total is either 3.5, something like that. So I've got them going over. I think they could bite someone. Still at least another year away. I have got Vandy going 6-6, which I think's fair. The only person who thinks that's a disappointment is someone who I think has unrealistic expectations after 1 year, or Diego Pavia, and he should have high expectations. Ole Miss I've got going 8-4. Same thing. I think they profile as a really talented team. I love that their defensive front is mostly homegrown, even as portal is the optimum word that is associated with them, rightfully so. They do have a homegrown element about that defensive front. Austin Simmons could be a breakout star. If he is, I'm wrong. If he is, they're going to go over 8 wins. I've got Arkansas going 5-7. Their over-under win total's 5.5. I think it can be a competitive team. Taylor Green's a very good player. I don't know if he's got it around him, man. And it's a tough schedule, and they got Notre Dame out of conference. I got him going 5-7. That probably means a coaching change if I'm right, and I'll just sit here and hope I'm wrong. I've got Kentucky going 4-8. I don't feel much juice out of there. I don't really know where that program's going right now. So that's how I see the SEC this year, wins and losses. Now listen, you know the rule around here. I am totally open to well-intentioned discourse. Of course, a lot of people are going to disagree with that. There's only one rule. The rule is not to not disagree. The rule is, if you disagree, make sure you tell me what your predictions are. Because what we don't have on this campus here, maybe other campi, but not on this campus, what we don't have is folks taking shots at a prediction without giving their own prediction. Because that's the coward's way out. And we don't do that. We don't breed that around here.